Welcome to our Sunday morning meditation service. This morning I'm going to do the Tibetan bowls. Each bowl begins as a molten mixture of the special 7 sacred metals. It takes 3 to 4 people to hammer each bowl. One holds the hot metal with blacksmith tongs, while 2 or 3 others alternate hammering and chanting, infusing the bowl with healing intentions, even as it's being created. Bowls typically range in size from 3 inches to 14 inches in diameter, but can also be larger or smaller. So you can get as comfortable as you like. If you'd like to lay down on the pew, which is the oddest name for a seat, but anyway, you're welcome to do that. And just get comfortable, and it'll be probably about 10 minutes. The word for today: as a divine being, I am invaluable and irreplaceable. Hold that. You are valuable and irreplaceable. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Someone asked me last week, how old were you when you figured that out, when you became enlightened? And I had to give the honest answer, I'm still working on it. And but here's an insight from the Master Eckhart Tolle about life. And if you're involved in the unity philosophy and the ideals of unity, then you understand this. So can I have this first PowerPoint, please? This is from Tolle's book, A New Earth, on page 15, paragraph 3. Most ancient religions and spiritual traditions share the common insight that our normal state of mind is marred by a fundamental defect. However, out of this insight into the nature of the human condition, we may call it the bad news, arises a second insight, the good news of the possibility of a radical transformation of human consciousness. In Hindu teachings, and sometimes in Buddhism also, this transformation is called enlightenment. In the teachings of Jesus, it is salvation, and in Buddhism, it is the end of suffering. Liberation and awakening are other terms used to describe this transformation. Having awareness of that would indicate that life has a definite purpose. And possibly the most important thing in life is to fulfill the purpose, which is this transformation. And in accordance with the question asked me, how old were you when you became enlightened? I think my very first insight into the bad news, into the human condition, came on November 22nd, 1963. My writing partner and I went to a restaurant that had an all-day breakfast for 99 cents in New York City. And it was on Amsterdam Avenue. When we got inside the restaurant, everybody looked dazed, in a state of shock. And the owner of the restaurant had the radio on for everybody to hear. And it was that time that President Kennedy was shot. And it just, you're in a certain state of consciousness, in a very worldly state for me at that time with my writing partner, just going on through life. I mean, basically, we were going to this breakfast at probably 2 p.m. in the afternoon because we just woke up at 12 or something. So life was like really big and full of things to get done and, pursuing getting some wealth and happiness and all that. But you walk into this restaurant and all of a sudden it strikes you that the human condition that Eckhart Tolle says, the bad news, is evident. And people are suffering from it. And wherever you went that entire day, there were people just in shock and crying, many people just crying. And but it's one of those moments of human insanity. And at that time, the conversations coming out of that at that time, on that very day, people are talking about what can we do about the evil, the insanity, the madness. What can we do about it? So you didn't go any place where they weren't talking about the assassination of President Kennedy. It's funny now that for all these years, and never would have thought in any way, shape, or form that I would have any kind of personal relationship with Kennedys. And yet my son today is the communication manager for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's running for the presidency of the United States. But that aside, that conversation about what we can do about the bad news in human consciousness, looking how can we fix that? How can we change it? How can we eradicate it from the world? And of course, I was very much involved in that conversation, had a lot of, personal ideas about this and that and all of that. My ego was as big as anybody else's. But after time, a long time, it comes to us, this truth, which was shared by Lao Tzu, some of you pronounce it, 600 years before the birth of Christ. This truth was shared by this sage, this Chinese sage. Can we have this on the PowerPoint? For those who would like to improve the world, I see they cannot succeed. For the world is already a sacred vessel, not something that can be acted on. That is an amazing insight, because we really think for a long time that we can make a difference. We can act upon the world. And it seems to us that we should be able to. With our education and technology, we should be able to at least alleviate a great deal of the insanity that prevails on the planet. But not according to the sage, who lived at a time when maybe the fastest thing on the road was a donkey. But how different is that from this modern way of expressing it in the Course in Miracles? Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the Course in Miracles text, page 415 in the old text. In the new edition, it's on page 446. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. And that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything. And where there is no meaning, there is chaos. Can you take this back again, please? This probably epitomizes the entire Course in Miracles. What it is attempting to get through to those of us, many of us, who are still operating in the bad news of normal consciousness. having accepted it because it doesn't seem like there's another consciousness to be had, or another way, or another world, or another life, or another dimension, or another way to experience life. Doesn't seem to us there is. But this is what the masters are attempting to get across. How cogent and perfect some of these lines actually are. Projection makes perception. It makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. Can we leave it there for a second, please? What is attempted here to be related is that the world we experience is experienced through our minds. Each person's mind is somewhat different, at least. In some cases, it's radically different. And it has to do with the collection of beliefs that we have personally taken on. And it is through this that we project what that world is. So we may be looking upon certain same things, but they're coming across to us completely with different connotations, different meanings, creating different feelings and ideas and thoughts, because we're not living in the same world. Each is living in his or her world of personality, the collected beliefs of personality. When I got involved early on in the spiritual work at the Edgar Cayce Foundation, I began to recognize certain things. There'd be days when I'd hear someone speaking when we were having a break about how coarse this particular individual who was a teacher there became, and how strident is his approach to this truth we're sharing this morning. And yet, on that particular day, I saw the most solemn, quiet, considerate teacher sharing a beautiful feeling of the truth we were sharing that day. And it just goes to show, whatever the couple that we're talking this over came in with, it was in their mind that this truth was abrasive, or, I don't know, it was something that was harsh. So, and I followed that along the way a lot, dealing with group work. The world you see is what you're giving it. Nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. It's like, you know, people when they have a bad day and you're wondering why they're the way they are. Their mind is somewhere else. Therefore, to you, it is important, this world you see is very important. It's your state of mind, and boy, you will defend it. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a person thinketh, so does he or she perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. That's an incredible line, by the way. Can you imagine that ever being taught in school? Any school, any college. Perception, your perception is a result. But you're looking out at the world, and that's your perception out there, but you're seeing it as a cause. Those things taking place you're going to react to, as though it is separate from you. So your perception then appears to be a cause. But can anybody say that line? Can anybody spend 7 years writing this truth from the cosmos and offer this line to humanity? Come to know that your perception is a result. And there is no cause out there. And that is why order of difficulty in miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without vision means anything. You're still in the bad news of the normal mind. And where there is no meaning, there is chaos in the bad news of the normal mind. Here's the salient point of that entire paragraph. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. What could that possibly mean? And really, when you get right down to the truth, you recognize that everybody on this planet, everybody on earth is seeking this, though most of them don't know it. This is what the soul of a human being is seeking. And yet most souls caught in the illusions of a five-sense-oriented body-mind don't know. What they are seeking, they suppose, is something outside of them. We grow up with that whole idea, where everything we seek and what we want and what we desire seems to be out there. We have to attain that, and then that will bring us the peace of mind, the joy, the love we're seeking, the happiness. What if it's impossible for that to ever occur? Can you imagine that everyone who has ever lived and sought that to happen, to get it from the world, and actually not one single person ever attained the joy and majesty and peace that the soul was seeking, no matter what they gained? It says in Solomon in all his glory, Solomon, the richest of human beings ever to walk the earth, in all of his glory, never attained what this master of life has to offer you. This is Jesus, the Christ of life, speaking. It can't be gained. It can't be had. It cannot be fulfilled in the initial illusionary, bad news, normal consciousness of the world. But we're all seeking it. The flaw in human awareness is perfectly, once again, perfectly illustrated. It's illustrated beautifully throughout A Course in Miracles. But it's perfectly illustrated in this story about a king who was ever seeking more and more wealth and power, conquering lands and other kingdoms. And he became ill, and he had a chronic illness that his personal doctor could not heal, and all the physicians in his kingdom could not help him with his chronic illness. And he turned to his astrologer, who looked at his chart and said, well, there's a purpose here, and the only way you're going to be healed is to find a man that hasn't got a care in the world, and you must wear his shirt until the illness subsides. So immediately the king sent out, large contingencies of troops to go out into his world and find the man that has not a worry in the world. And after many days, they returned and reported to the king that we have found such a man that has not a worry in the world. And the king said, well, give me his shirt. And they said, Your Highness, he had no shirt. This lesson in this story attempts to get across the age-old human dilemma, and that's spoken of in the Bible. What would it profit you if you even gained the whole world but lost your soul, or lost your life, which is what your soul is, which is eternal? And so it's the age-old dilemma that we are conditioned to believe that we could find something outside in that world that actually could fulfill this feeling we have within ourselves that there's not enough. There's more to be gained. And you see, this is the epitome of the human dilemma, because when you look at people that have gained just about everything you can as far as popularity, possessions, wealth, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with popularity, possessions, and wealth, except if you still have not come to understand the consciousness of fulfillment comes from within you and can never be fulfilled outside of you. And so this is the human dilemma, that we never stop. Let me put it this way. We, and especially in this Western culture, simply do not know what enough means. What is enough? And you see it with people that seemingly amass empires of wealth. And they wind up in the hospital, some alcoholic treatment center. Or sometimes they just check out, kill themselves. Because they never got to the place where enough. Now it's time to become more conscious and awake and pursue that which is truly valuable. And it's said this way in the scripture by the Master of Masters. You can read this in the book of Matthew, you can read it in Luke, and you see inferences of it in Mark. Matthew 6, 31 to 34. Therefore do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles, that's a reference to the outer directed, not those who are seemingly on the path of God consciousness, or in this case, it would be in the religion of the presence of the one God, which is what the Jews brought into the world, that there was one God, one presence, one power. So, but the Gentiles were all of those who were not even close to understanding that about God. So what shall we wear? For the Gentiles, the outer directed, still seeking the world, seek all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be yours as well. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Let the day's own trouble be sufficient for the day. This is a whole several verses of truth that precede this. And it's all about this idea of the anxiety, or that which drives us day after day after day, because something within us thinks that there's not enough yet. It's the greed gene. It's the inability to be here. When you're enlightened, you can't be here. You'll hardly ever even come near being here, because the mind is forever contemplating how to make the future better, bigger, smarter, more, so that you can have more advantages. You need more advantages in order finally to be fulfilled. And yet, who is that guy without the shirt? So we have very clearly, down through the ages, been instructed over and over and over again. That which you are seeking can only be found within. That which you are really seeking can only be found when you attain that relationship to the kingdom of God, which is the consciousness of God. You must know that if there is a God, a creator who created us and everything we have and everything we look upon, then there must have been a plan for humanity. There has to be a plan included in all that. And what is that plan? That we should come to know the nature of our Father. When the disciples asked the Master of Life to teach them to pray, he said something that got him crucified. Nobody knows this yet. The thing that got Jesus crucified was his first opening line. Our Father. And when he said it, it meant every human being, not just the Jews, because they thought they were the chosen people and they were going to finally rule. But no. The Master of Life said everyone who exists should pray this way: Our Father, who is in this very present heaven. Holy is thy nature. Let thy holy nature come in me, as it is in this present heaven. Thy will then will be done in earth as it has always been in the consciousness of God. So I'm going to conclude this with this particular quote from the Master who lived 600 years before Jesus Christ. Some people call Lao Tzu the greatest of masters. He's the simplest. You know what happened to Lao Tzu? When he had already related how to live effectively, beautifully, and joyfully to the small village where he actually had his life, he was moving, and they wouldn't let him out. They had the people stacked up at the gate of the village. They begged him, implored him, and held on to him. the greatest of all masters, they thought. Can we have this PowerPoint then? You can read this in the Tao Te Ching, which is this tiny missal written by Lao Tzu. Know contentment with the way things are, and you will never be disgraced. Know satisfaction in what you have, and you will long endure. The sage allows everything to come and go without effort or preference. Because he has no expectations about results, he is never disappointed in how they turn out. Can we take this back again, please? Know contentment with the way things are, and you will never be disgraced. Know satisfaction in what you have already, and you will long endure. The sage allows everything to come and go without effort or preference. Because he has no expectations about results, he is never disappointed in how they turn out. I'm going to take some time to be still, to allow that element of consciousness that is the good news to rise through the normal consciousness. And we do this by just allowing ourselves to be still, not fighting with those thoughts that don't seem to be taking us to that place of peace and contentment, but letting them come and go. And you just allow yourself to be sitting here in this moment, opening to feeling good, feeling peace, feeling okay, because God is in charge. Let's take that as our mantra. I am here now, feeling good, feeling okay, feeling peace, because God is in charge. I am here now, feeling good, feeling okay, feeling peace, because God is in charge. I am here now, feeling good, feeling okay, feeling peace, because God is in charge of everything. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater devotion to being awake in the good news of God. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And I was given a piece of paper to make an announcement about what unity is all about. Unity is all about trying to help people discover this divine intelligence within themselves so that they can live lives more effectively, beautifully, joyfully, and peacefully. And we do not make any ideas that somehow or other, if you are not right with God, we don't proselytize any type of guilt or that you should pay up now so that you can be going to heaven on some distant day. So we simply operate from the same ideal that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore had, that the will of God is that we should be whole, happy, and prosperous in our lives. So we have these different ways that you can help secure, sustain this Unity Church in Boulder. We ask you, those of you watching online, it's easier to walk away from the television set or the computer when you're watching this, and not to think that you should be of some help in sustaining what goes on here, which is sharing the life-transforming truth. So please, make yourself a true part of unity and give on a regular basis. So for all of us here, we can bring into our hands, our minds and our hearts that gift we'd like to make today. And let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. And I do want to say thanks to Joshua on the keyboard and Louis on the tom-toms and Norma on these beautiful Tibetan bowls. So thank you very much for that. We will have a group meeting for those of you who'd like to stay and chat. If you have any questions about this talk or anything to do with Unity, I'll be there to share with you in about 7 minutes. So you can go in the fellowship hall, have some refreshments, circle up some chairs, and we can chat. To everyone, have an enlightened day.